Welcome to this outstanding training on LGBTQ+ allyship, created in cooperation with AT&T, Deutsche Telekom, HP Enterprise, Lumentum, Nokia, Roschier, and Telefonica.
So in this 20-minute training, you will learn more about LGBTQ+ allyship and how a small action from you can make a big impact for somebody else. First, we will learn about why allyship matters. Then we'll talk about privilege and intersectionality. And at the end of the course, you'll have lots of examples of what you can do as a supporting LGBTQ+ ally. We will provide you with tools on your individual journey. Throughout the training, you'll also hear personal testimonials from community members and allies. So let's go.
Allyship is a term used to describe the effort of people taking action to stand up for inclusion, equality, and equity. Allyship is for everyone, regardless of their role and identity in society and at work. Above all, allyship is never about being perfect, but it's about remaining curious, kind, addressing biases and inequities for everyone, and in this training, LGBTQ+ people. Because it's a foundation for a more inclusive culture where people are and feel valued. A culture which normalizes the presence and supports LGBTQ+ people. But in practice, it means more diverse opinions and views, which fosters creativity and better thinking. It means taking some of the pressure off from LGBTQ+ employees, who are often requested to explain their situation, their identity, or simply defending themselves against offensive comment, a bad joke, an uncomfortable situation. Ultimately, because it makes LGBTQ+ people feel at ease in the workplace. It improves productivity, reduces turnover, and sick leaves. For a company size of Nokia, this translates to an estimated maximum of 500 million euros approximate savings per year. Employees in companies with a culture of inclusion are 50% less likely to leave, 56% more likely to work to improve their performance, 75% less likely to take a sick day, and up to 167% more likely to recommend their organizations as a great place to work. Because it's an appeal to your empathy. If there's a simple ways to make your colleagues or even customer feel more at ease at work, wouldn't you want to just do that? Also, because it's simple and requires little effort from you. Essentially, it's about using your position, your situation, to support LGBTQ+ people in small, simple situations. There are many, 70% of men and 83% of women, who consider themselves as an ally in the workplace. But much fewer, about 8% of men and 19% of women, who are active allies. And that's what we're going to show you in this training. That is simple, it's easy, and highly impactful to the people who are on the receiving end, to be an active ally. According to many studies, 2/3 of customers are more likely to act on advertisement they see that they consider diverse or inclusive. And companies with top quartile metrics for racial, gender, ethnic diversity are up to 35% more likely to have financial results above the industry medians. Companies with better inclusion, diversity, and allyship simply perform better and are clearly preferred by customers. And LGBTQ+ sensitive customers have serious buying power, an estimated $1.4 trillion just for the US, and $4.7 trillion globally. Yes, very much so. 77% of LGBT job seekers take into account the company's LGBTQ+ friendly benefits, and 70% evaluate a company's reputation in the LGBTQ+ community. In addition, a strong sense of belonging is associated with more than 50% reduction in turnover risk. A recent study shows 64% of tech employees aged 18 to 28 believe people with underrepresented identities are discriminated against in hiring, and 50% have left the tech company job because the company culture made them feel unwelcome or uncomfortable due to their identity. Before we start on what an ally does, let's review briefly a few important topics to set the scene.
Let's not rush indeed. For you to be a good LGBTQ+ ally, you need to be confident around some basic concepts. Once you're clear about them, the base for your positive impact will be more robust. First, what does LGBTQ+ mean? This is the acronym for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, plus other diverse identities. All these categories will be explained. However, before that, it's important to highlight the difference between some concepts so as not to be confused. First, sexual orientation. This is an inherent emotional, romantic, or sexual attraction to other people. Then gender identity. This is one's innermost concept of self as male, female, a blend of both, or neither. It's how individuals perceive themselves and what they call themselves. It can be the same or different from their sex assigned at birth. And finally, gender expression. This is the external appearance of someone's gender identity, usually expressed through behavior, clothing, body characteristics, or voice. And sometimes it does not conform to socially defined characteristics associated with masculinity or femininity. A lesbian is a woman who has romantic and/or sexual orientation toward women, while gay is the concept that describes men who are attracted by men. Bisexuals are those who form attractions to those of the same gender or to those of another gender. Trans describes people whose gender identity or expression is different from that associated with their assigned sex at birth, which is basically the opposite of cisgender people. Queer is a term used by some, not all, which is often considered an umbrella for anyone who is non-cisgender or non-heterosexual. Finally, the plus represents other sexual identities and orientations, including intersex, asexual, and pansexual, but not only. We now understand what an ally is and what is behind the LGBTQ+ acronym. But why does it really matter? Well, did you know that in the workplace, the LGBTQ+ community is 20% less likely promoted to management positions? 73% have experienced subtle, indirect derogatory behaviors or comments at work. 35% hide their sexual orientation or gender identity at work. And finally, the pay gap within the community ranges from 9% for gay men to 32% for bisexual and transgender. Shocking, isn't it? And this is why we need you. Now, we move to what an ally is and does. And to start, let's hear from a community member about what being an ally means for them.
Hi, my name is Danny, and I want to talk to you today about being an ally. But I want to start with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." I've been fortunate and had a lot of great allies in my career, and when people ask me what it takes, I would say three things. The first is to be present. You've got to make sure you're there for the community that you support. The second is to be vocal and make sure to give a voice for those who can't speak for themselves. And the third, and probably most important, is to be kind. Understand there's two sides to every story and make sure that you come across with compassion. With that, I would say thank you. Thank you for being an advocate, and thank you for being an ally.
Hi, my name is Silvia and I am the Country Inclusion and Diversity Manager in Nokia Italy. I would like to say that I feel lucky. Lucky because my professional role and Nokia's values are deeply aligned with my personal values, and I consider that a real privilege. In Nokia, we embrace the uniqueness of all our people and make sure that everyone feels heard, valued, and safe. I'm proud to say that I am an inclusion ally and also an LGBTQ+ supporter. What does it mean? That I've taken 2 courses from our Nokia Edu platform. I've enjoyed it. I've got the badges, and now I'm ready to support all the minorities in our company. I hope to see more and more allies in Nokia, because I think that everyone should do their part to make the working environment more inclusive. So, join the courses and don't hesitate to contact me if you have any question. Thanks for your attention. Bye!
So now that we've heard briefly on what an ally is and what they do, it is time to reflect on why you are certainly the right person to be an ally. So find a notebook or a piece of paper and a pen, or you can do it mentally, and count every sentence you agree upon. And while many of the following propositions touch on LGBTQ+ topics, they cover also other types of privilege and inclusion. Now, if you have at least one cross, you are a privileged person when compared to colleagues who don't have crosses there. Basically, you experience some advantages or rights that others do not enjoy. Everyone enjoys privileges of some kind, one way or the other, albeit in different shades and degrees. Now, do not feel blamed or guilty. That is not the point. Privilege is not an individual's choice. However, it does bring responsibility and power. Being aware of your underlying privileges provides you an opportunity to identify the benefits experienced in our lives and use them to support others and create a fairer workplace and society. So let's see in practice what you can do as an ally in daily situations.
What makes an ally stand out? Mainly it's about learning. Be curious and open-minded. Kindness and curiosity goes a long way. Recognize that no one knows better than the people in a marginalized community. Learn from them, their testimonies, their stories. Be humble and open to feedback. Accept that you might make mistakes and be open to learn from them. Listen and amplify. Pay attention to LGBTQ+ voices and share their stories and perspectives. Respect privacy. Be mindful not to out someone without their consent. Let them control their own narrative. Understand what lack of privilege looks like. Recognize your own privileges. Be visible in your allyship. Display pride flags and pins to show your support, and by attending LGBTQ+ events, rallies, pride parades. Advocate for inclusive policies. Push for equality in your workplace, school, or community. If you are a leader, you have more responsibility to encourage people to give their best at work and feel appreciated. Be consistent. Allyship is ongoing commitment. Be consistent in your support and actions, not just during Pride Month. Embrace inclusive language. Using the right pronouns is of course a starting point. And you can simply ask about them if in doubt. Inclusive language is powerful. Include everyone in how you express yourself. For example, by saying colleagues instead of ladies and gentlemen, calling it parental leave instead of maternity leave, referring to your significant other as your partner or spouse instead of wife or husband. Be patient and persistent. Put it into practice. It is definitely not easy, but speak up when you notice behavior that's not acceptable. Let's hear from an ally about what they have learned personally about the privilege and how they leverage it in their allyship practice.
Hey everybody, my name is Mikko. We have just watched a thought-provoking video on privilege, and it has really made me reflect on this very important topic. I think the key learning for me was that privilege is actually a responsibility and a duty to recognize those who do not have such privileges. For me, being in the position I am, it is absolutely important to be a true ally for the LGBTQ plus community and take into account how much opportunities I have and we have as a workplace to include people with less voice or less opportunity, less privilege in the workplace and in our actions. I hope all of you also recognize that small privileges, small advantages matter, and inclusivity is about providing opportunity and voice to those who do not share those same privileges. I am very thankful for the opportunity to participate in this training and in this program, and I hope we effect an actual change in the world around us. Thank you.
So now that we've heard about what an ally does and how privilege can support these actions, let's talk about one aspect that was mentioned: microaggressions and communication. Microaggressions are subtle, often unintentional, discriminatory comments or actions, but they can have a significant cumulative impact on LGBTQ+ individuals, and they can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and of course decreased job satisfaction. 53% of LGBTQ+ workers report hearing jokes about their identity at work. 1 out of 5 members of the queer community stated that other coworkers implied that they should dress in a more masculine or feminine style. And microaggressions are often not addressed because community members think that nothing can be done about it and they just don't want to damage the relationship with their coworkers. So as an active ally, if you notice a microaggression, here are some things you should consider doing. First, you can recognize the microaggression. And for this, you should educate yourself on common LGBTQ+ microaggression so that you can recognize them when they arise. 2, you can speak up. And you can use the STOP method for this. S for state the behavior, T for tell why it's problematic, O for offering an alternative, and P for providing support. You can also use I statements, as in I feel uncomfortable when, instead of the more accusatory you language, as in you should not do this. You can also ask questions, like what did you mean by that? It can simply encourage reflection for a coworker who might realize they should not have said what they said. And finally, you should try to provide education to your coworkers. You can share resources on LGBTQ+ issues and allyship to your coworkers at work when they're especially receptive. Speaking up will create a more inclusive environment. So now let's hear from a community member's experience about when an ally stood up and spoke up to address such microaggressions and hurtful language at work.
Hello, my name is Raquel. I go by she, her pronouns, and I live and work in Madrid. And I wanted to share with you guys what it's been for me as a bisexual woman to have the allyship of people around me and how that has impacted in different moments where it's been difficult or I've had certain encounters for the reason of being bi. So basically for me, especially in working environment, but in general in life, being a bisexual woman most of the times comes with the price of being taken as a very promiscuous person or a very sexual person in moments where you don't necessarily want to be perceived as so, especially in the workplace. And therefore, many times the most uncomfortable situations haven't had directly place in the workplace itself, but in events associated with work, like after works or offsites or whatever. And in those moments, there have been a lot of situations where there have been jokes about how my, orientation could have impacted in the way that I could be flirty or more sexual towards other people, and that's made me very uncomfortable. I remember this particular time where I was precisely at one of these after-work events, and someone was making a very unpleasant comment about it, and there was this friend, who was actually a really good friend of mine, that pointed out that that was being unacceptable. I don't know, she did it in such a natural way that didn't make me feel like I was the target or anything, or that I was not really stopping the conversation. I don't know, she didn't make me feel like she was being heroic or anything like that. She just made me feel supported, and I guess that's what allies do, and I like to think that that's what this is all about, the community and being part of a group of people that take seriously making others feel welcome and feel safe. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think we can understand why allies help create the community and a culture that are so vital for marginalized people. Next, we have a community member inviting you to act.
As an ally, the first step I want you to take is to let everyone know that you're a safe person to be around. You can do this by putting the Pride sticker on your notebook or your office door. You can also wear a rainbow lanyard or put a Pride flag on your desk. Small actions like these can show that you're a safe person to be around and a potential ally. Educate yourself. And, more importantly, if the opportunity arises, speak up for them, support them, but always remember, don't put them at risk. If the environment isn't fully supportive, did you know that your company has an LGBTQ+ employee resource group? Everyone is welcome there, and you can join it as well. These groups always need more hands, new ideas, and especially allies. By participating, you can connect with LGBTQ+ colleagues and actively contribute to creating a supportive and inclusive workplace. And that is how you become a great ally.
And do not worry, an ally does not need to be perfect. Are you terrified to say something wrong? What if I call he a she? What if I assume someone has a boyfriend but actually has a girlfriend? What if I expose myself to ways of life I never experienced or even heard about before? You have two options. You can run away from the challenge, or you can stay. Acknowledge that you are learning and offer your support to LGBTQ+ individuals around you. The community needs you, so no one is going to judge you as long as you do not judge. Show respect and stay willing to learn. If you are thinking about giving a helping hand to the extent of your possibilities, it is because you are an empathetic person who cares about others. This will be met with enormous gratitude from the community.
Hi. I have been asked to explain why I'm an ally, and I think it's much more important that I explain why I'm an active ally. As a kid in kindergarten, I was always welcoming the newcomers. I was in a very multicultural environment and it felt so natural to me. A couple of years later, though, I was the new kid on the block and I was not always welcomed and I didn't always feel included. So I noticed at that point that even if I was not part of a minority, I was not fitting in. I didn't feel I was belonging. A couple of years later also, as a teen, I started to have a lot of friends from the community. At that moment, maybe because we were once more in this multicultural environment, nobody really told about real issues of discrimination. But I started to see it later when I started working in professional life. And I really noticed that this was massive. And so I thought that being myself an ally was really not enough, that I needed to do something. I needed to use my privileges to help other people, to be a voice, to speak up. So since then I have been doing that. I have been an active ally, a noisy ally, a proud ally. And this is something I would like you all to think. Being an ally is good. Being an active ally is much better. So this is a call to action for all of you. Please be an active ally. Thank you.
So now we open up this training to a concept that looks at how issues can add up for marginalized groups. Intersectionality. This is a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989, which recognizes that individuals can face multiple, overlapping, and therefore compounded forms of discrimination based on their various identities. Education on intersectionality is crucial because first it helps us understand complex experiences of marginalization. It also promotes a more inclusive and effective advocacy because we just consider more people. And finally, it challenges us to consider privileges we may hold and which we've never considered so far. Now, the LGBTQ+ community and its allies can also learn from and support other marginalized groups. For example, racially marginalized groups face similar issues of discrimination and prejudice as the LGBTQ+ community. People with disabilities often struggle with accessibility and acceptance. Again, something quite common for the LGBTQ+ community. And finally, religiously marginalized groups may experience persecution and misunderstanding. Again, common. Different types of discrimination often overlap as well. For example, 32% of LGBTQ+ people of color report experiencing discrimination based on both their sexual orientation and race. Transgender individuals with disabilities face compounded challenges in healthcare access, even more so than non-disabled ones. And by recognizing these intersections, we can do many things. We can build stronger coalitions which actually include more people. We can develop more comprehensive solutions to address these issues. And hopefully we can create a more inclusive and equitable society for all. So you see how the issues that the LGBTQ+ community can face and that allyship attempts to alleviate can get a lot more intense and multiplied in their intensity when people are at the intersection of several marginalized groups. They don't just add up, they multiply in how the difficulties grow.
In terms of impact, we want as many Nokians to take this training as possible. We want them to feel like they can and they will have impact in the everyday actions of allyship in their work and in the workplace. Great impact also is leading by example. And so our senior leaders have taken the training and they will be sharing their experiences across the company, encouraging others to take it, and we will track the take-up across the company. And finally, our aim for this training is that by taking it, that people will truly understand how the simple and everyday acts of allyship will support our LGBTQ+ community and other marginalized groups.
Hello, my name is Pablo and I'm Head of Digital Inclusion at Telefonica, also former specialist in diversity and inclusion in the company. I am very excited to be here today as part of this outstanding allyship training, together with my colleagues and I would say also friends from across the industry. Even though we may compete as a business, we also need to cooperate and collaborate in order to make a more inclusive and human industry. At Telefonica, we believe in the power of diversity and we work hard to create spaces in which everyone feels welcome and empowered. Allies play a big part in this, which is why we try to involve them in our LGBTIQ+ trainings. Also, we run workshops specifically aimed at them and provide resources that are aimed at addressing very specific situations in the workplace, like for example, the gender transitioning of a colleague. In order to ensure inclusion across all levels, we offer targeted trainings for managers and new hires during onboarding. These help us to foster an inclusive mindset from the very start. Even though we are confident and we know that there is a lot of work to be done, we also believe that we are on the right path. And partnerships like this help us to accelerate towards meeting our objective, our purpose of making the world more human by connecting lives.
So to conclude, to ensure ongoing allyship and growth, we ask now the following from you.
Take a picture or screenshot of the following list of possible actions to inspire you on your allyship journey.
Act on some of them in the next days, weeks, months, or find your own concrete and actionable ways to be an outstanding ally.
Come back later, check mark the ones you took action on.
And finally, get your LGBTQ+ allyship certificate.
Thank you for joining us for this training.
That's all. Short but intense, isn't it? Now it's your turn to multiply the impact of this training in your organization. The company has created policies and codes, channels to report incidents, spaces for socialization and community creation, public advocacy from top leaders. But that is just the beginning, and there's more to do. This company is made up of people. Our people from the top to the bottom of the pyramid need to be engaged in ensuring inclusive work environments for all. This training shows that we are on the right path, but we will not get to the finish line unless you are actively involved. We invite you to be reflective and self-aware of your biases, to speak up if you notice any microaggressions or any other form of discrimination, to use inclusive language. But most importantly, we need you to be visible as an ally and amplify the voices of the LGBTQ+ employees of Nokia, who need allies like you. Don't be afraid to be a public advocate. In the end, is not equality and inclusion a matter of human rights? I'm really proud to join the cause, and I hope you are too.
At Nokia, our cultural essentials underpin everything we do. As I'm sure everybody knows by now, those essentials are open, fearless, and empowered. We want all of our employees to feel that way in their everyday work. That's what drives our business forward and helps us to achieve our goals. That's why we have a strong commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion at Nokia. Everybody must play their part in speaking up, challenging the status quo, building psychological safety, and creating an equal playing field for all. I'm pleased that we have collaborated with some of our most valued customers and partners to improve the learning experience and increase allyship across our organizations. Through taking the time to complete this training, you are contributing to the culture we all want to promote. Thank you.